So thanks for joining us, guys. So tonight, obviously, the BBFA female football webinar. The aim of tonight is obviously off the back of the Euros. Lots of interest in sort of female participation in football. So we just wanted to give you sort of an overview on the various opportunities that are available, whether it's people looking to play, anywhere through to sort of coaching, refereeing, and then sort of the funding and facilities side of it as well. Anything really that can enable us to get more women and girls into the game. So just a little background of what we're going to go through. So firstly, I'm just going to cover the opportunities for sort of girls to play. So through Wildcats and Squad, the rec programs that are funded by the FA. And then moving forward onto the sort of adult provision. So looking at Snickers Protein Just Play and the sort of women's social football sessions and walking football. We'll then move on to England football accreditation. Just a little bit around accreditation, what things mean for your club, and how sort of developing female provision at your club can enable you to take that next step to gaining an extra star. And then Rich will touch around coaching. We'll also have our referee development officer, Sam, coming in to talk a little bit about refereeing. And then John will finish off talking around sort of funding and facilities. What we'll do is we'll take questions on the way through. So if you've got a question about anything on a specific section, we'll pause a little bit at the end, just stick your hand up. At the end of each section, I'll get hands and we can take questions from there. And then if there's any sort of further questions or discussions that you want to have, we can cover them off at the end. So firstly, just a little bit of an overview on the programmes. So all of the rec programmes run on the FA events platform. So the first of these is obviously Weetabix Wildcats. So that's for girls aged 5 to 11. You're asked to run for a minimum of 16 weeks per year over a 2-year period. The idea is that the session should cater for a minimum capacity of 30 girls. Ordinarily, the application window would be open from November to the end of January. But obviously off the back of the Euros and the legacy that's created, there is an application window open now, and that will be open till the end of August. So for anyone that's really eager to get sessions going and really kickstart that provision now, you can do so. Ideally, sort of getting things moving in the next couple of weeks so that application can be put in before the end of the window, and then delivery can go straight away once you've completed training. This is a funded programme from the FA, as I mentioned, so you're given effectively £900 of funding over 2 years. That's usually split into £600 for the first year, so that is as soon as you start your sessions, you're provided £600 of funding. You then get a follow-up amount of 200 and 100 in the second year. So the £200 is sort of for registers. So once you've got registers of 10 sessions on the events platform, you'll be provided that £200, and then the final little slot of £100 is done when you sort of complete that 2-year period. In addition to the funding, they do provide an equipment pack. So you get the Weetabix Wildcats branded bibs, you'll get a banner that you can put up around your club, as well as sort of online assets that you can use to advertise. So whether you've got social media channels on your website, you can use them to advertise your session, and you'll also get a pack of Nike footballs to use at the sessions as well. Squad is very similar, a bit of a newer program. So this has been only developed sort of recently, and this is the first year of the program following a pilot. So this is for girls aged 12 to 14. So effectively just the next step along the pathway for girls after Wildcats. Again, run for 16 weeks per year over 2 years. Minimum capacity of 20 girls. This is sort of acknowledged that it's a bit more of a difficult age group to get girls in. So slightly smaller minimum capacity. Again, application window is ordinarily from 17th of January to the 11th of March, so just after Wildcats. But again, off the back of the Women's Euros, we've got an application window that's open now just to the start of September. So again, if you are interested in this programme, there is that opportunity to get things moving straight away. Very similar again, the £900 funding over 2 years and the similar equipment pack. Just sort of where you are on the spectrum, really, whether you're looking to aim at sort of those younger girls, or whether you're looking to get sort of more more older girls into the age groups, and perhaps you've not got enough for teams, and sort of squads a brilliant opportunity to almost get that mixture of age groups in until you're ready to sort of provide opportunities to play in teams. Or there are some clubs that run it alongside their teams, so there'll be some girls that go along, just sort of turn up and play, aren't interested in playing in teams, who also go along and sort of attend the sessions in line with the girls that are already playing in their sort of organised teams. The final thing is Snickers Protein Just Play. So in terms of sort of all adult provision, this is the program banner that they're sort of put under on the events platform. So again, this is for individuals 16 plus, run from a minimum of 16 weeks per year again. The only difference with this is it's not a funded program. So you'll get the equipment pack, your branded bibs, your banner, your online assets, you get your cones and 5 Nike footballs, but there's no funding attached to the program. The requirements are obviously a little bit less stringent as well, because it's working with adults. So the lead individual only requires the Playmaker course, which is of course free. Has anyone got any questions on those 3 provisions before I carry on?
Nothing in the chat, Alex. Just a reminder that if anybody does want to ask a question while Alex is presenting, please feel free to put any comments in the chat and we'll pick them up as we go.
Perfect. I'll move on. But again, if you have got any questions, you can ask them at the end. That is not an issue. So just sort of moving forward to our adult provision. Obviously, I did say that Just Play is not a funded program, but we are looking to sort of plug that gap. And this women's social football sessions is what we're looking to do to plug that gap and sort of fulfil that area. So we are offering funding to deliver this program. The reason for this really is to sort of fill a current gap in provision. So it's really just about creating and sustaining a regular recreational football session, which allows women of all ages and abilities to participate and connect in that sort of fun, relaxed environment. The idea for this really is that we're targeting our network of clubs, because clubs have that direct audience already of parents of current youth players. If you've got youth teams, those people are already familiar with the club and they may be in attendance at games and training sessions anyway. So with the clubs that they know providing that sort of opportunity for them to play, it just provides a comfortable environment to encourage participation, rather than them having to sort of go out their way, go somewhere new with loads of people they don't know. The idea of this program that we want really is that sessions will be delivered initially over that 6-week pilot. So you can obviously build the sessions up, see what works, see what doesn't, see how many people you can get through. And then we'd ask you to sort of transition onto the events platform as an FA Just Play centre. This just allows us to obviously monitor the attendance of the sessions, and also allows you a platform to sort of manage those sessions and manage the admin for it, rather than having to do that yourself. You can obviously just use the platform. It's already sort of created and established, and you can just do it through there. The benefits of these sessions to the club is effectively allow a mixing of women from different teams. So just talking about the parents again, people from different teams and age groups, just allows them to connect. What that'll do is that just sort of enhances the sense of community at the club. So if you've got people from different teams, parents from different teams that attend these sessions, they then see each other around the club, training, match days. It just sort of makes that family feel around the club and just brings everyone together. Another potential benefit is that growth of interest by female participants may lead to sort of involvement via coaching or volunteering in other roles. So again, if they get that sort of interest in playing initially, they might decide that when they're playing at the club with these rec sessions, that actually they want to go and help coach, or they want to go and volunteer in other roles. And again, that just provides sort of an able volunteer base for your club. The other thing it does is it provides the ability to keep youth players at the club long term. So if you've got youth teams moving forward and perhaps you haven't got any adult teams, this just allows you to keep those youth players at the club. They can sort of take part in this recreational session, and it just again allows that sort of through pathway without them having to move on. And the final thing again is just that small incentive that we provide. So the idea is that we provide a small financial incentive. Branded program t-shirts. When we were discussing with clubs, they said that sort of that feeling of belongingness really, and having those t-shirts which sort of show everyone in the same light, and that almost like a kit, brings people together as a team. So that's something that we'd look to provide along with that sort of little bit of funding. And again, that advertising reach was one of our women's social football sessions. So we provide poster sort of assets for you to market this. And again, a final thing is that when we've got this sort of network of clubs, we're really keen to bring everyone together. So if we've got various clubs across the county that are delivering these sessions, we'd look to sort of bring them together at perhaps a festival or sort of a day where they might play little games in the morning, and then there's that opportunity to socialise in the afternoon. Again, just bringing everyone together and sort of providing that network. Has anyone got any questions surrounding this?
Nothing in the chat yet, Alex, on no hands. I'll just give it another few seconds.
I think while we're waiting, I think what I wanted to pick up is, since the Women's Euros, we've had a really large number of sort of women contact us via email looking for these recreational opportunities. So the reason that this was set up initially was because there was a few that were emailing through saying, I just want to sort of turn up and play, no commitment. Is there any recreational sessions around that I can sort of go and play at just in that casual manner? But since the Euros, we have seen a real increase in that interest from women. So again, we're looking for as many clubs sort of around the county to deliver these sessions. And I think if you do sort of start delivering these sessions and deliver the taster sessions, you'll see a real sort of spike in participation. We've seen it a lot through emails, and I think that's only going to sort of continue growing. If you can get people involved, you've already got that sort of base of parents. If you can top that up with people from outside the club that want to come in and take part in these sessions, I think there is that sort of base to really get a strong amount of participants in.
We have got one question, Alex, from Gary. He's asked, how do we gain the funding for the adult women's sessions and also access to the promotional tools as well?
Yeah, so the idea of this effectively is that if you speak to me, I can obviously provide you with those assets. All that we'd ask is obviously you just to commit to becoming one of these women's social football sessions providers. We've got a network of them. The idea is that effectively you just commit to this. I'd obviously speak to you, discuss how you can move those sessions forward. Once you've delivered those taster sessions and we're ready to put things on the events platform, that's when we provide that funding. So effectively the funding is available for providers of our women's social football sessions. And obviously if you want more information, I've got an information pack and we can obviously pick up offline as well if you want to ask any further questions.
Looks like I've just got one more. Oh no, just yet. Gary's just said thanks for that. Cheers, okay. Alex.
Perfect. So just moving forward, so the final sort of step on the pathway really for that sort of adult women provision is walking football. This is sort of a really growing provision recently. It's ideal for anyone who wants to play football for fun. Obviously, walking football opens the door for players who want to continue playing. So they've got that pathway through to women's football now. Walking football provides that extra step. Or even players that want to return to the game. So we've had a lot of experience where people haven't played for say 20, 25 years and they're just looking to sort of pick up walking football to get back into the swing of things. It's sort of for all kinds of people really. The idea of the sessions is that they're all surrounding having fun and keeping fit. There's a lot of sessions again that use them for sort of rehabilitation for people that have perhaps had injuries or heart problems, things like that. Just gets them out. It's that sort of low level of activity, but also provides that social side as well. Over the past sort of season or so, we've seen our Thames Valley Walking Football League, which is our walking football league across the county, has grown significantly in the women's area. So it's now got 2 female-only divisions for over 40s. And all that provides is just sort of an opportunity for those to play regular fixtures, for those looking for that competitive side alongside the obviously recreational part of it. The idea of this is effectively once a month, the Thames Valley Walking Football League will have a meet at a central venue. The teams will play all their games in that morning or afternoon, and they'll play against obviously all the teams in their league, and it just provides that sort of competitive edge for those looking for something a little bit more organised. Another benefit of it again is a sort of great way to engage a new demographic. A lot of sort of youth teams, again, you might have grandparents, parents that are looking to get involved in sort of playing, but there's not obviously an opportunity for them to do so at the moment. The other thing that does is that opens that sort of new pool of potential volunteers. So we found that a lot of our walking football players are perhaps retired and have got that time to give a little bit more to the clubs. So they can come in the background, and they may have the skills that can obviously help the club to continue developing moving forward. Any questions surrounding the walking football?
We just had one comment, Alex. I think
Yeah.
it's relating to the previous slide, the adult rec session,
Okay,
and that's from Ian.
Yeah.
Just basically stating that they're starting their first ladies session on Thursday, and any advice or tips he's kind of after, really. So I don't know whether you're able to provide that now or taking that offline.
Yeah, we can take that offline. I think Ian, obviously we're working with Georgie, myself and Ellie through the Inspired by program. So happy to sort of provide a little bit more advice offline. I can obviously get in contact with you and provide that. But yeah, really good that you're looking to sort of provide those women's sessions moving forward, and I'm sure you'll have a good uptake. Right, John, I'm going to move on to the England football accreditation. There you go.
Perfect. You're right to keep control, Alex, and I'll just
Yeah.
give you a nudge when to move on.
Yeah, all good.
Perfect. Evening, everyone. I hope we're well. First of all, most importantly, please can you refrain from either putting in the chat or shouting out the Liverpool score. I am a Liverpool fan and I'm hoping to watch the game after, and don't want to be put off while I'm presenting. But no, I'm just going to spend a few minutes covering England football accreditation. I'm not going to go through it in huge amounts of detail. I'm just going to cover the elements that I think are probably relatable to what we're talking about tonight and the growth of kind of female football. So that for those that aren't familiar, the England football accreditation scheme effectively replaced what was previously known as Charter Standard. And instead of having three kind of hierarchical levels, which were previously youth, development and community, there's now 1-star, 2-star and 3-star. But how that basically it's formatted is that all of them, club at 1-star, 2-star or 3-star, should effectively be still all providing a similar type of environment, which is obviously fun, safe, and in trying to be as inclusive as possible with all players. So we would expect any of our England football accredited clubs to be able to kind of provide that suitable, as I said, environment. The difference between the 3 stars is the player pathways, which we'll come on to in a moment and explain a little bit more about that. In relation to the criteria itself, really similar to what was, as I said, the Charter Standard, in the fact that we're still wanting and is mandatory for kind of all coaches within the youth game to have a minimum of introduction to coaching football qualification, which was previously known as the level 1. So that's kind of a minimum. And for adult teams, very much around having a first aid in football qualification as well. So we're still kind of asking, as I said, for very similar things on the pitch and off the pitch. Again, we're still wanting clubs to be adopting and utilising the correct FA policies, having bank accounts, having committee meetings on a regular basis. So all of those pieces of criteria that were previously within the Charter Standard are still very much running through the heart of England football accreditation. If you want to click on a slide, Alex, that'd be great. So the next slide just very much covers, as I said, a little bit around that specific criteria. And as I said, it's very much similar to kind of what was there previously. So as I said, hopefully you'll all be very much familiar with those. As I said, very happy to kind of go through any of the criteria that people aren't sure about or help to achieve if you're kind of feel that you've slipped a little bit. But as I said, this particular kind of webinar is not necessarily going to be focusing on that. It's going to be focusing on some of the other elements of the accreditation. Alex, if you want to click through one more. So as I mentioned previously, the England football accreditation, as I said, is done using what we call as player pathways, which when you initially hear about it does sound a little bit complicated, but once you get your head around it, you can completely understand the rationale for it. So really, really straightforward, 1-star club. All you effectively need to do is offer one male, female, or disability team. So any one of those, and you just have to offer one team within any of those categories. So pretty much any club that affiliates would obviously meet that from a team's criteria, providing all the other criteria on the previous page was met. So really straightforward from a 1-star perspective. If you want to click on, perfect. So where it becomes a little bit more complicated is when we start talking about the 2- and 3-star clubs. So in order to become a 2-star club, what we're essentially requiring clubs to have is what we call a full player pathway. So within the male game, you can see that, as I said, it runs pretty much all the way through from the youngest age group right the way up to kind of the oldest youth age group. So from a male perspective, we're looking for very much as I said, pretty much a full player pathway and max of 2 years between any two age groups, but you need to have obviously a minimum of 8 of them. So we're pretty much, as I said, asking you to have every age group within the male game. The female game of the full player pathway actually requires you to have a minimum of 4 teams from under 10s to under 16. So slightly more relaxed, but obviously you still need to have the majority of teams. And again, no more wider than a 2-year age band. And then the disability, you can see that you need to have a minimum of 2 teams within that. So in order to be a 2-star club, you need to have a full player pathway, but then you also need to have one team from one of the other 2 pathways. So if we use male as an example, you'd have a full male pathway, which would tick that box. But in order to finish off and have that 2-star accreditation, you would still need to have one team from one of the other categories, so either a female team or a disability team. So again, from our perspective, we're really trying to encourage clubs to actually, as I said, take on that female team in order to, as I said, increase that star rating up to a 2-star and hopefully up to a 3-star. For those clubs that I suppose have a bit more of a female focus, obviously the aim and the ambition is to obviously have a full female pathway. And as I said, that's represented by four different age groups, from under 10s to kind of under 16s. The reason that the focus is very much on that player pathway is because we want young people to be able to have the ability to go through from the youngest age group all the way up to the oldest, playing within that same environment, hopefully with the same volunteers and coaches around them as well. So as I said, that's very much why, from our perspective, really trying to push the full player pathway. And the final one is obviously relating to obviously 3-star, and that is where you effectively need to have 2 full player pathways. For most clubs, that will be a full male and a full female pathway, and then you'd also have to offer a disability team as well. So that's obviously the difference between a 2- and a 3-star club. Whilst obviously from our perspective, we'll view all of the clubs as the same standard from a delivery point of view and an environment point of view. When certain funding pots do become available, or we're looking at linking in with clubs around facilities, the 2- and 3-star clubs are often prioritised. And the reason for that is that they're engaging more of the community. So from our point of view, we're able to get more outcomes and objectives linking in with those clubs because, as I said, they're serving a wider portion and variety of the community. So just something, again, obviously to bear in mind that there are additional benefits and opportunities as you go up to 2- and 3-star as well. I don't think there is too much else to share apart from the fact that at the moment, because this transition from charter standard to accredited clubs has recently kind of been brought in, and due to the impact of COVID, the FA have allowed a tolerance level. So until 2024, there are kind of certain tolerances that you as a club would be allowed. So it may be, as an example, that on your club portal, you will see that you're a 2-star club, yet you might be missing one team from a player pathway. That's because it's allowing you a certain amount of tolerance until that 2024 season, when hopefully clubs and participation is back to a level where, as I said, it was kind of pre-COVID. I think that pretty much covers off everything. Alex, I don't think you can see the chat. Rich, anything in the chat from your side, from questions point of view?
Yeah, Rob just asked around when you say male, do you mean mixed teams for the younger age groups?
Yeah, so generally, Rob, I think it's done by what competition or league they're playing in. So obviously, if it's a mixed team, which would generally be playing in a boys' league, that would count as part of the male pathway.
Okay, I just think in terminology, it's a little bit off-putting to say male rather than mixed when if I was to show these slides to other people, because certainly in all our leagues, all our younger age groups are mixed, and we have quite a lot of girls who want to play mixed rather than girls football. So
yeah, that's a fair point. I think what we're looking at is we're looking at from a gender perspective. So if you are a male player, you have the ability to play within those teams. I understand the same about the female perspective, but we want a specific offering for females, because data and research has shown that there are girls out there that mixed teams can be slightly off-putting, and that's the reason that we want a female pathway. As hopefully everyone is aware, any team within the male game has the ability to offer female provisions within that specific team up to under 18s. But as I said, the growth of the female game really has taken off since we've introduced female specific leagues and female specific teams. So that's just something to bear in mind. But thanks for that, Rob.
Gary has asked around teams, does it include futsal teams?
That's a really good question. My understanding is that it does. However, I will come back to you and double check that, Gary. So leave that one with me, because I don't want to give you any incorrect information. So yeah, I'll come back to you on that one.
Oh, and Amy just says that her signal isn't great, so we'll definitely share the recording back to you, Amy. Don't worry.
Perfect. Right, so we will move on to the coaching side. So, Rich, you are up.
Thank you, Alex. There we go. Just like John, if everyone could just not tell me what happened in EastEnders tonight, other than Liverpool, that'd be much appreciated. Big fan of EastEnders. So coaching, obviously, we've been in the month of July. We were had the delight of watching not just England, obviously the Euros, but 16 teams battle it out, and it was really intriguing. And what else? Sorry, we've also seen a lot of media and coverage of Serena as well and what she's done, and I think that's first and foremost is brilliant to see as a female role model in the game. And prior to that, in April early this year, we launched our female coaches community. So just to give you an idea, we obviously have a number of female coaches across the county, but they weren't as many in terms of percentage access and CPD. So we looked at it and we thought, how can we sort of maximize that? And maybe is it because it's quite male dominated in terms of those sessions and in terms of being comfortable. So we reached out and we created a new female coaches community in April this year. We now have over 70 female coaches signed up to this program, which is a fantastic start. We've had a couple of meetings by way of online, and we had our first face-to-face in Milton Keynes last month, just before the semi-final in Milton Keynes as well. So that was really good. So it's a really good opportunity if you do have female coaches within your clubs to join. It's free of charge, and the workshops we have for this season will be another 5 across the county. and the next one being in a few weeks' time down at Reading FC. So that workshop's called Leading the Legacy. So it is around looking at the Euros, seeing the good work that Serena and the team did, as well as other teams, breaking down some of the tactics from substitutions to how they play, style of play, philosophies, and then also looking at the transition for this forthcoming season. So some teams are going from a 5v5 to 7v7 or to 9v9, 11v11, etc. And just a very informal chat with other female coaches. So we'll be in attendance. Delighted that Vicky Fisher, who's the FA Regional Coach Development Officer for the Southwest, will be there leading that, as she was delivering in Milton Keynes last month. So really good opportunity for female coaches to have a look down in Reading. Like I say, free of charge on Monday the 5th September at the Medeski Stadium, or the Select Car Leasing Stadium as it's now called. But yeah, really good opportunity to network with other female coaches. And Ian, I'm picking up on that. So northern part of the county. So like I said, we deliver them. This same session was delivered in Milton Keynes in July, and we'll be looking at doing the same workshops throughout the season, depending on where our coaches are from. So obviously we can't do every single area, but where the most are and where the most interest is, we'll try and replicate as many workshops as we can. But we're aiming for 5 to try and obviously get as many coaches as we can at Impact. This is also for female coaches who maybe just started out as an under-7s coach or parent helper, and just looking to maybe even just see what coaching's about. Again, very informal. It is a accredited CPD, so that the time and will be allotted to them on their fan records as well. So yeah, really good opportunity, say, and free to join. And I'm sure the details will be sent out on the back of this in terms of a link as well. Secondly, in terms of like the resource and support for female coaches, we have a podcast which has now been 3 years since it was launched. So it's called the Grassroots Football Coach. It's available on all good podcast platforms. It offers basically an insight for anyone who listens for a coach's journey, their experiences, ideas around session plans, what it's like on a match day, and that's all the way from grassroots to recently qualified coaches, all the way to World Cup winning players from 2014. So there's a lot of diversity in there as well. In particular, for female coaches and some really good role models. Recently, we've had, as you see there on the screen, Sarah Davin. So she is first of all, she's a player at Ascot United, but she has been a coach for the last 12 years. As a grassroots coach in Berkshire, set her own coaching company up. Really good listen. I recommend that for anybody who wants to listen to that, but a really good role model for aspiring coaches, as well as Ellie Reid, Manisha Taylor, MBU, who's recently won the Inclusion Award for the LMAs. So that was a really good, interesting chat with Manisha. So yeah, again, free of charge, really good resource, and recommend it for any coach, in particular female coaches as well. That's it, I believe, Alex, in terms of slides for coaches. Obviously, I'll pause just for a moment if there is any questions. Pause. If there is any questions, again, we'll obviously be at the end to answer any, or you can contact us and we're happy to discuss further.
Perfect. Thanks, Rich.
Thank you.
So we'll move on to the refereeing side now. So I believe we've now got Sam here who is going to take over on that.
Yeah, evening, mate. Evening all. Thank you very much. Hope everyone's okay. So yeah, just a couple of quick things from me. I'm sure Alex will share the slides with you, so all of the links and stuff there will make sure you've got access to view those. Again, really exciting time from our point of view to get into refereeing. You know, Rich has already alluded to the women's Euros. We were lucky enough to see one of our own, and Rebecca Welsh, represent us so well over the tournament. And again, probably England's success was the only thing stopping her going forward. But in terms of what we're looking to do from a county point of view, already run a sort of successful women's only course, female only course prior to the Euros in Milton Keynes. So we had 24 girls there start their journeys with us, which was really good. In terms of how you get involved, anybody aged 14 and above can be eligible for the referee course. And again, the link, or there will be a link online of asking or showing you how to register your interest to receive updates on one of our courses. And as you'll see, refereeing, we always feel is a great way to boost confidence and stay involved in, you know, the best game around. In terms of the FA as well, the FA are also investing heavily in female football. So they've created a women and girls development day. So they host a specific day, usually at Warwick University or St George's Park, based around female referees. And again, some of the girls that we'll see regularly operating on the Women's Super League and on TV will be in attendance there, giving the girls some hints and tips. We've also got a specific progression pathway now for females in football. So historically, everybody went to get promoted had to go down the route of male football and referee men's football on a Saturday afternoon. That has been scrapped now, and we do have a pathway open in the female game, which again is open to male and female referees. That gives you the opportunity to progress to the elite levels of the game in the female football if that's something you're passionate and keen to do. From a county FA point of view, again, we are really lucky. We've got some really good role models and examples of that pathway in the county. So the first picture you can sort of see on the left hand side is Katie Allen. So Katie is one of our 17-year-old referees. She's just won the Match Official of the Year at the England Football McDonald's Grassroots Awards. So you can see a photo of her there collecting her award at the Community Shield a few weeks ago. Katie is a 5-4 referee on the men's pathway, so she's sort of at the brink of semi-professional football within the men's game, and she's also going for promotion to from 3W to 2W in the women's game this coming season, which, if successful, would see her act as an assistant referee on the women's championship. Would see a referee on the women's championship, and act as an assistant referee on the women's Super League. Which leads us on to Sophie in the middle. So Sophie is, again, she's 21, maybe 22, just achieved at the end of last season her level 4. So she is sort of the bottom end of the semi-professional game on the male pathway, but also a 2W referee as of this season. So she'll be refereeing on the Women's Championship and acting as an assistant referee on the Women's Super League. So it'll be great to see her and see Berks and Bucks be represented on sort of some of the big Super League games this season. And again, Sophie's also had some really good exposure and opportunities with the FA in terms of even travelling sort of internationally to act as an assistant referee on some international friendlies. And the last picture you can see there, as well as Katie and Sophie, we've got Charlotte Lockery. So all three of the girls there are our last 3 winners of Berks and Bucks Grassroots Match Official of the Year. So again, what a great advert that is for female football, and for refereeing within Berks and Bucks. Some really good strong role models to help, who are all keen to help and support referees coming through. We've got a great team of developers, mentors, and matchday coaches, all keen to help everyone sort of progress to the top level of the game. So as I would say, being a referee myself, never been a more exciting time to get involved in refereeing. I know a few others on the call may disagree, but it's certainly an exciting opportunity and a great way to progress in the game that I would recommend anybody certainly considers. But that's it from me. Happy to take any questions if anyone's got any queries at all.
Cheers, Sam.
Right.
John, Rich, any questions?
No, nothing in the chat.
Perfect. Right, that moves us swiftly on to the final part of the evening, which is just around funding and facilities. So John's going to pick up on this.
Yeah, hi guys, as many of you will have probably heard on webinars that I've been involved in, always like to kind of talk a little bit about funding and opportunities that are available for clubs. What I'm not going to do is I'm not going to go through all the different kind of capital funding projects and all of those types of things. I'm just going to focus on the really quick win grant that are available that are going to support you from a facility perspective, cater for new teams and new provisions. So this pretty much revolves around the Football Foundation's kind of small grant scheme. And for those of you that aren't aware, you can receive grants for up to £25,000, and effectively that should be a maximum contribution of 75%. So as I said, whilst it's labelled as small grants, there are significant funds available, and as I said, with a contribution of 75% from the Football Foundation, you can really get some quite sizable investment into your clubs to, as I said, to support the growth and sustainability of your facilities. Really straightforward application. I think we did some trials on doing some of the goalpost applications, and I think the quickest someone did it was in 4 minutes. So from an application point of view, should be really straightforward. Some of the other items that may be a little bit more pricey obviously ask for a little bit more detail, so will take slightly longer. But from an application point of view that you may have been through with other organisations or even the Football Foundation previously, years gone by, this, as I said, is a really straightforward application. The other really positive side of this is the fact that the majority of applicants get confirmation back within 1 to 4 weeks. The smaller applications tend to be within 1 or 2 weeks. Those that are closer to the 25k mark do tend to take a little bit longer. But as I said, even then, as I said, the fact that you're getting a return within 4 weeks is a pretty efficient response. The criteria does differ slightly depending on what you're applying for. So for certain things like storage containers, you will need to have some kind of tenure or license on the site, whereas for others, the requirements are a lot more minimal. But the 4 most popular small grants that we tend to see come through us are for goalposts. So obviously when you're setting up new teams, the likelihood is that you may need goalposts, obviously, unless you're able to share with other teams of a similar age group that play in the same format. So again, that 75% contribution comes into play. You can get 75% off for a new set of goalposts. Again, really helpful. One word of warning is that depending on what time of year that you apply for the goalposts, can be a long lead time from your actual supplier that you're getting them from. So we just recommend getting your applications in as soon as possible. Storage containers, so again, kind of shipping type containers or small kind of modular containers. They again are eligible via the small grants scheme, and we often receive a lot of applications for that. And again, that 75% contribution comes into play. Portable floodlights is another kind of really popular item. And then the final thing is clubhouse refurb works. So it tends to be kind of decorative jobs or very small refurbs within the building itself. But we've seen that data and insight shows that having a welcoming facility and clubhouse does make a difference when you're trying to attract new provisions, particularly around girls and females, and also making the parents and things feel welcome. So by having a lick of paint, making sure the toilets are all working properly, all of those types of things do really make a difference when you're trying to showcase your club and, as I said, attract new people in. So as I said, those are all grants that can be found through the Football Foundation, and there are other eligible items through the small grant scheme, but those are just the 4 most popular ones and probably the most relevant for this evening, which is why I wanted to touch on those. For those of you that have got more ambitious projects, or there's other things that I haven't listed here that you'd like information on, always happy to kind of have a conversation, or if you want to drop me an email and I can provide those details electronically if that's easier. Haven't seen any questions come in yet, but as I said, please feel free to drop anything in the chat or put your hand up if there's any questions around funding.
Perfect, thanks, John. just move on to the
John,
last.
can I just ask something? Sorry, it's Rob. Are there grants for pitches and things like that? Because that is our biggest hurdle at the minute, rather than facilities and kit equipment, goals, etc. Actually expanding the club and having somewhere for the additional teams to play is probably our biggest single most handicap at the minute. Or
Yeah,
challenge,
so there is, Rob. So there's two different pots of funding. One is to improve existing pitches. So to improve the level of maintenance that's carried out. And within that, there's also the opportunity to purchase different types of equipment as well. The second one, which is obviously more of a sizable and requires more resource, is obviously when you're looking to effectively purchase land and then turn that into pitches. That is obviously a more significant cost. It is something that the foundation does fund, but obviously there are challenges from the club side, and obviously trying to ensure that you're providing the relevant amount of partnership funding, because that 75-25 split doesn't apply to the larger capital grants. It's a little bit more complex than that, but happy to have those conversations offline, Rob, and there definitely is avenues to explore.
Yeah, I think we want to try and find somewhere suitable, which would be the hardest part, but we're in discussions with a few people that might lend themselves, but it would be starting from scratch, so it's going to be a big project. So
yeah, absolutely. I mean, one thing we find is that by almost having that ability to bring in funding to help improve current sports pitches or football facilities, that is kind of a little bit of a negotiation starter for the football club. Obviously, again, what's more tricky is if you're just trying to find a patch of land and then trying to negotiate a lease, purchase the land, etc. So yeah, happy to kind of have that conversation, Rob, offline, and
okay.
yeah, see if we can support you with that.
Okay, cheers, thank you.
I think there's a question coming from Gary, so I'll just cover that off. In relation to new indoor facilities, Gary, I'm guessing this is probably in relation to kind of a futsal facility. Really tricky, to be honest with you, because of the costs that are incurred with developing an indoor facility. What we do is there is funding available to support changes to maybe existing sports halls to make them kind of futsal compliant. Also, we're seeing kind of funding for outdoor futsal courts, which again is obviously a lot less cost prohibitive. But to build a new indoor facility is a challenge. And generally speaking, what tends to happen is it's linked in with an existing leisure centre proposal rather than a standalone indoor football facility, unless it's a 3G pitch, which tends to be within a pro club. So yeah, a bit more of a challenging one. Again, still happy to have that conversation, but just be aware, as I said, that we don't see too many indoor football projects, unfortunately. I think that's it for the questions, Alex.
Perfect. Guys, if you have got any other sort of follow-up questions, you go away, speak to people at the club, and you have got any further questions, you can obviously drop us an email, so development@berks-bucksfa.com. If you send an email, regardless of what it's about, we'll be able to get the relevant person to get back to you, and can obviously discuss things further. So if you have got any questions, just take down that email, and by all means contact us afterwards, and let us know what your query is.